Now it's on. It says maintenance required.
Buckle up, YouTube. This was a shit show. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Nepcar Love. In this episode, we are going to be changing the oil of my Toyota Prius. I am going to explain to you that this was not all butterflies and rainbows. This was the Prius oil change from hell. Anyways, I still recommend that you do this yourself because you might not save time on this project, but you will save money, and the more you do it, the faster you'll get at it, and then you'll be doing your oil changes for like 25 bucks all the time. Before we get into it, I hope that you'll like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for those of you who have already subscribed. I am so happy and overwhelmed with the comments and the likes and the subscribers that I've already gotten on this platform. It's because of you that I'm going to do this, and I'll be able to make crazier and crazier videos with your support. I'm not going to jinx you all and say that this is going to be any harder than what I went through, but by the end of this, I think you'll be pretty well equipped for whatever your car throws at you. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do when you're doing your own oil change is get your car up in the air. That's because the drain plug and the oil filter are underneath the car. You want to be careful when you're lifting your car up in the air that you're not damaging your vehicle and that it doesn't fall while it's in the air, especially if you're under it. What you want to find is the main structure of the vehicle, and that's what you're going to lift up any vehicle from. With modern cars like mine, you have to be careful because they have something called pinch welds that run along the primary structure. On older cars, you could typically just use a flat jack right there, but for my car, I had to protect these pinch welds. How I figured out how to jack this car is just by looking in my handy dandy owner's manual. This is also something you can Google or just search for on the internet. Now, after you lift the car up with the floor jack, you have to make sure that you use jack stands because you want to have that added support and you don't want to just solely rely on the jack to hold the weight of the car up over you.
This little car jack that came with my car, they call these widowmakers because they're just more dangerous than your average floor jack, but that's because they're just easier to break. But this is the one that came with my car. We're going to use it to lift up the side of my car. I'm not going to get under it with it, but it's made for pinch welds, and that's why this is like this. It looks like it's pinching. You can always get an adapter kit like this for your floor jack. That way you can use a floor jack. I just wasn't prepared. We're going to use this.
Now again, to protect the pinch welds, you don't want a jack stand flattening these pinch welds.
This is the pinch weld adapter that I was telling you about. That way you don't end up messing up the pinch weld on your car. You'll see robots used a lot to make a lot of the cars that are made with pinch welds. So a robot made my car. Or at least a robot welded my car.
If you want to lift the front and the back of the car up at the same time, you want to put your jack where the car is balanced. If you have to guess, that's usually by your steering wheel, or close enough anyway. So this is the part where things started to go wrong. The oil filter usually should just come off with your hand, and the drain plug you will need a wrench or a socket ratchet combo. But that should not be difficult. So I got on my drain plug with a relatively long ratchet and it did not move. So I checked the socket I was using and it was a 12-point socket. When you use a 12-point socket on a bolt, they're more likely to round the bolt. It's easier to get them on, but the 6-point is just a tighter fit and it's safer.
6-point, 12-point.
I still couldn't get it to move, so then I had to bust out the electric impact. I I would recommend buying one of these. We don't have space for a huge air compressor, and this is awesome. So that did get the drain plug out, and the oil filter is where things got worse. So basically this will grab onto your oil filter, and as you're wrenching it's supposed to grip onto the oil filter tighter and tighter, and then loosen up the oil filter because it is only supposed to be like hand tight. It's not supposed to be impact gun tight, which it was. They do sell oil filter sockets specific to the sizes. We had one for every vehicle known to man except for the Prius. And if we had this, it might have prevented what I'm about to show you. This is the oil filter that I had to put this pointy tip punch through with 2 different hammers. I read online that some people use a flathead screwdriver, but I was lucky enough to have a pointy head tool to dig right through it. It was easier. It went right through the oil filter, and the screwdriver would have taken a lot more force. So I got the punch poked into it, but because the car inside is so compact, there was nowhere for me to turn the punch. I was hoping to get it to move a little bit like you see here, so that I could then use my hand or the wrench. But even that didn't work. And then ended up banging my hand, which you can see here. My ring finger, where my ring started to swell up. Like my finger started swelling up into my rings, so my rings felt like they were cutting my finger. So don't wear your rings while you're working on your car because you can hurt yourself. And I did. At this point, I was starting to worry about my hand and worrying about if my finger was broken. I wasn't mad anymore, so all of a sudden it started to hurt more. So my handsome hairy armed assistant stepped in here, and he put this peg from our pegboard inside of it, and that gave this clamp, this wrench, something to grasp onto. And that's how we got it out. As you could probably hear, here it is popping while it's coming off. So you know it's definitely over tightened. As awesome as impact guns are, you should really only use them to take things apart. What we see here is clearly somebody put my drain plug and oil filter back on with an impact gun. This is somewhat normal if you go to those quick oil change places, which there's nothing against that, but the first time that you do this yourself, you might run into some of those problems. Alright, so now that we have gotten the oil filter off, we are going to install a new one, obviously, and we're going to use this Amazon Basics oil, which after doing some manufacturer Googling, I figured out that the same manufacturer sells to Amazon and Walmart. Either place you buy this is going to be a great buy because they're the same manufacturer. So one of the complaints I have about the Amazon Basics and Walmart oil is that it doesn't have the little display viewer that some of the other oils. Oh yes, it does. The review I read was wrong. After opening this package, I figured out that it was wrong. You do have a viewer window. So we'll just need to measure out 3.9 quarts of oil and put in this here Prius. One of the things that you're going to want to do with your brand new oil filter for your car is to put some oil around the seal. This will help it really stick on. Think of this as your gasket that needs to swell up a little bit. So now we're gonna put the oil in the engine after we've already taken the old oil out of the car, and we've replaced the new oil filter, and we are now going to take the cap off. Also, on my car at least, a good indicator of what kind of oil to get is on the cap, the SAE-0W-20, and that's just a safe bet that you'll know what your car takes. So we'll just put in our funnel. Make sure there's nothing in your funnel that can possibly get into your engine, any debris or anything like that. And we know there's 5 quarts of oil in this. We only need 3.9. So we're gonna need a little bit over 1 quart left in this to know that we haven't overfilled the engine. This is the part where you really want to be looking just to make sure you didn't overfill it. I'm gonna let this sit here with the oil I've just put in, and I'll check it with the dipstick in just a few minutes just to make sure that I have the right amount of oil in here. My best guesstimate is that I need another half quart in here in order to make sure that there's enough oil for the engine to run like it should. I'm not doing a maintenance required clear yet, but I will do that in my shorts and reels on my Instagram and on my YouTube. So I hope you'll check those out if you do have a Prius C, because those will be helpful and useful to you. If you do not, you need to look up your specific car because they are all different. In some cars, it's just a simple button. In my car, they made it really fun where you have to like put your gas pedal and your brake pedal and all of these other little things that you have to push at the same time. So I will make a little video about that later. Okay guys, so that was my nightmare oil change, and everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, but if I could do it, you can too. The one thing I do recommend is do your homework on your specific vehicle, and also do not be afraid to phone a friend. Even if you ask the guys at the parts store, that's really good, useful information. Thanks again for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye everyone. Thank you so much again, and I hope you'll be here next week.